continuation with our GMAT maths. We'll continue doing these questions further from GMAT official uh, guide. Okay, so let's have a look. Question number 16. Question number 16 says three machines individually can do a certain job in 4, 5, and 6 hours respectively. What is the greatest part of the job that can be done in 1 hour by two of the machines working together at respective rates? So we have to find the greatest part of the job. So which two machines will do the greatest part of their job? Those machines which are doing the fastest job. So these two machines are those which are finishing in 4 and 5 hours. They will do the greatest part of the job. Okay, in 1 hour. Okay, we have to calculate how much is the job done by them in 1 hour. Okay, so this is purely a question of time and work. So the machine which does finishes the job in 1 hour in 4 hours. So 4 hours it finishes one job. I'm talking about one individual machine. Okay, so in 4 hours it finishes one job. So in 1 hour it will finish 1/4 of the job, right? That is about one machine, first machine. And the second machine which was doing the earliest job was doing in 5 hours. So we are talking about in 5 hours that machine will individually finish one job, right? So in 1 hour it will finish 1/5 of the total job. Correct, guys? So the first machine will finish 1/4 of the job and the second machine will finish 1/5 of the job. So these two machines combinedly together will finish how much job? 1/4 plus 1/5 of the job. They will do this part in 1 hour, right? So this is their work, combined work in 1 hour. So we'll calculate making the same denominator. I will multiply up and down by 5 and here up and down by 4. This is how we do the addition of fractions. So we get 5 over 20 plus 4 over 20, which is 9 over 20. So this is the part of their job completed in 1 hour. Okay, these two machines. Option B is the correct answer, right? Let's try question number 17th. Question is the value of -3 minus -10 is how much greater than the value of this much. So we'll calculate the value of this part first. This is basically -3 and minus minus means plus. Two minuses makes plus. So -3 plus 10 will be plus 7. Okay, and this number is basically -10 minus -3 is basically plus 3. So this is -7. Now the question is the value of 7 is how much greater than the value of -7. So this 7 we have to find is how much bigger than -7, right? So bigger value minus the smaller value. Okay, so we have to calculate this number. So 7 minus minus means plus 7. Two negatives make positive. So 7 plus 7 is 14. Option D is the correct answer. Right, guys? Okay. Let's come to question number 18. Question 18 says, if x and y are sets of integers, so the moment you see the sets, okay, so it comes to your mind that the question is related to the set, okay, which we have studied in our higher secondary or secondary schools. X delta y, So in this particular case, in this particular question, they are just representing x and y are the sets of integer, and x delta y denotes the set of integers that belong to x or y but not both. Okay, so x delta y is x or y but not both. Let me draw the figure so you understand better. So this is set x and this is set y. Now x delta y is the part A and C only. I'm representing with A, B and C so that you understand better. So x delta y is the set x or set y but not both. Means common part is excluded. Okay. So basically x delta y is just A plus C. Okay. Not the common part. Now they say if x consists of 10 integers. So x part is 10 integers. So can we say that A plus B is basically 10 and y consists of 18 integers. So basically B plus C is 18 and 6 of the integers are in both x and y. So basically 6 of the integers are in both x and y means the common part is 6. Okay, there are 6 integers which are both in x or in y. It means the value of B is 6, right? So we have to find x delta y consists of how many integers. So basically we have to find the value of A plus C. So that is quite easy, guys. You know B is 6. So from the first relation, A will be how much? 4. And from the second relation, C would be how much? 12. So A plus C will be 16. Option B is the correct answer. Right? Okay. Even though you don't think about set, you can easily do that question. They have said if x consists of 10 integers and 6 of the integers are in both x and y, so only x has 4 integers and similarly only y has total 18 integers and 6 are in both x and y, so only y has 18 minus 6 which is 12 integers. So only x and only y, the total number of integers will be 16. Option B is the correct answer. Hope it makes sense. Let's come to question number 19. Question says, in this figure above, they are talking about this figure given, the sum of three numbers in the horizontal row. So the numbers which are in the horizontal row are added 37 plus 38 plus 15. So their sum equals the product of the three numbers. So they said equal to the product of the three numbers in vertical column. So x times y times 15. We are just following the statement what they said. The sum of the numbers in horizontal rows equal to the product of the numbers in vertical column. Okay, we have to find the value of x times y. Basic maths will do that. 37 plus 38 is 75 plus 15 is 90. So 90 equal to x times y times 15. So 15 I will bring in division. So 90 divided by 15 equal to x times y. That is 6. So option A is the correct answer. Right, guys? Let's come to question number 20. Have a look at question number 20. It says 1 plus square root 5 multiplied by 1 minus square root 5. We have to solve it. For those who don't know the formula, I will just do the basic multiplication. So this 1 will multiply with this one So we'll get 1 times 1, which is 1. And then this 1 will multiply with negative root 5. So we will get negative root 5, right? Okay. And then the term for positive root 5 multiplying with this one would be positive root 5. And this positive root 5 multiplies with negative root 5. So a positive number multiplying with a negative number will be a negative number, and negative root 5 times root 5. Let me write that. Now negative root 5 and positive root 5 gets cancelled. So we get 1 minus. Now guys, root 5 times root 5 is 5. I hope you know that. If you don't know, please understand. Any number x, any positive number x can be written as square root of x times square root of x. Okay. So for example, if we have 7, let's say, so 7 can be written as square root of 7 times square root of 7, right? Okay. So similarly, root 5 times the square root of 5 would be 5. So 1 minus 5 is negative 4. Option A is the correct answer. Let's move on to question number 21. Question says, in the rectangular coordinate system above, the shaded region is bounded by straight lines. So let me show you the shaded region. It is not given in the question. So this is the shaded region, guys. Okay. Now the question is asking which of the following is not an equation of one of the boundary lines. Okay. So basically we'll have to decide the equation of the boundary lines for this shaded region. Okay. Now this shaded region is bounded by x-axis, and the mathematical equation of x-axis is y equal to 0. Why? Because x-axis is perpendicular to y at 0. That is why the x-axis is y equal to 0. Okay. What is the equation of y-axis? Now because y-axis is perpendicular to x-axis at 0, so the equation of y-axis is x equal to 0. You should remember these standard equations. So x-axis equation is y equal to 0 and y-axis equation is x equal to 0. Okay. What about this perpendicular line? Now because this perpendicular line is perpendicular at x, okay, so the equation would be x equal to 1 because it is perpendicular at x at 1. So equation of this line is x equal to 1. Okay. What is the equation of this line? Let me mark that with different color so that you identify easily. So we are talking about this equation. Okay guys, because this is a straight line, okay, and straight line equations are y equal to mx plus, where m is the slope of the line and b is the y-intercept. Okay, I'm just teaching you basic maths. Okay, so what is the slope of this line? M represents the slope. And how do we find slope? To find the slope, we use rise over run. Okay, so basically we decide that any two good points of the line, and we decide how much is the rise and how much is the run from starting from this point to reach at this point. So basically the rise is 1 and run is on the left side by 2 unit, so run is negative 2. So rise is 1 and run is negative 2. I started with this point, the point A. Let me mark that. Starting with point A and to reach at point B, my rise is 1 and run is on the left side by 2. So I put negative 2. Okay. So rise is 1 and run is negative 2. Okay. So slope is 1 over negative 2. And guys, what is the y-intercept? B means y-intercept. Y-intercept means where the line cuts the y-axis. So basically the line cuts y-axis at 1. So b value is 1. So equation of the line should be y equal to negative 1 over 2x plus 1. So that is the equation of the line. Now we'll simplify this to check which of the options does satisfy. So option A is the equation of the boundary. Option B is the equation of the boundary. Option C is there. And when you simplify this, let's make the same denominator. So y equal to negative 1 over 2x plus 2 over 2. I just tried to make the denominator same. Okay. And here also I will multiply up and down by 2. Now we have all the denominators same. Okay. So we'll cancel all the same denominators and we bring minus x to the left side. So we get 2y plus x equal to 2. So basically equation of this line AB is option E. So which equation is not in the boundary lines? Option D is the correct answer. Hope it makes sense, guys. Let's move to question number 22. Have a look at the question. Question says, a certain population of bacteria doubles every 10 minutes. Of bacteria in population initially was 10 to the power 4. What was the number in population in 1 hour later? Okay. So basically it started with 10 to the power 4. Calculated nicely. So in first 10 minutes, it became double. So double means 2 times 10 to the power 4, right? And then in the next 10 minutes again, it again became double. So double of the previous value. So 2 times that happened in the second 10 minutes. Okay. So basically we have covered 20 minutes. And then in the third 10 minutes, it again becomes doubles. So double of the previous value. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 10 to the power 4. And like that, we have covered 30 minutes till now. So similarly, after 1 hour, the value would be, let me write it. After 1 hour, we are basically covering 6 periods of 10 minutes. So my value would be 2 to the power 6 because we'll multiply 2 6 times 10 to the power 4. So option C should be the correct answer. Hope it makes sense. Let's come to question number 23. Question says, how many minutes does it take to travel to 120 miles at 400 miles per hour? So it's a basic question of time, speed and distance. We have to find the time, guys. Okay. So let me write down the formula for time equal to distance over speed. Okay. You should memorize this. Now distance is how much? 120 miles. We have to take care of the units. Okay. And speed is 400 miles. So let me write nicely. 400 miles per hour, right? Okay, so simplifying that value, we get 0 gets cancelled, we get 12 over 40, and 12 over 40 can, let me write that, 12 over 40, this number can be divided easily by 4 up and down, so we get 3 over 10. So this is in terms of hours because here the speed was in terms of hours. Okay, now this hours will convert to minutes because the question is asking about how many minutes. So hour to convert to minutes, we have to multiply by 60. We will get 18 minutes. Option correct answer. Right? Okay. Let's move to next question, number 24. Have a look at question number 24, guys. Question is, if the perimeter of rectangular garden plot is 34 feet and its area is 60 square feet, what is the length of each of the longer sides? Okay. So for sure it is a rectangular garden, first of all, and perimeter is 34 feet and area is 60 feet. Okay. Now we have to find the length of the longer side. Okay. Now I'm sure you must be knowing that area is equal to length times width and perimeter is equal to twice of length plus width. Great. So guys, we'll do this question taking the help of the options. That's better. Now because the question is asking about the longer sides, so we'll start with the longest side first of all. Okay. I'm starting with option E. We're just attempting that. Okay. If the longer side is 15 and because the area has to be 60, so the other side has to be a multiple of 15 to get 60, right? So the other side we'll get is 4 feet, correct? If these are the two sides, 15 and 4, do they make the perimeter? How much will be the perimeter with these two sides? So perimeter would be twice of 15 plus 4, which is 38. As per the question, the perimeter should be 34. So option E is not the correct answer. Okay. Now we'll go to the next greatest value, which is option D, 12. Okay. If 12 feet is one of the side, then the other side has to be 5 feet. Then only the area would be 60, right? 12 times 5 gives you 60. Okay. And if the sides are 12 and 5, what is the perimeter? 2 times 12 plus 5. Let's calculate that. 2 times 12 plus 5 would be 34. Right? And which is the required perimeter. So yes, option D satisfies the condition. Option D is the correct answer. Greatest side is 12 feet. Good guys. Let's solve question number 25. Question says, a certain manufacturer produces items for which the production cost consists of annual fixed cost totaling 130,000 and variable cost averaging $8 per item. So we'll calculate the cost. Fixed cost is 130,000 and plus additional is variable cost, and variable cost depends on number of item. As per the question, it is $8 per item. So suppose the manufacturer is making X number of items, so the cost would be 8 times X, right? So this is the total cost. Now if the manufacturer's selling price per item is $15, so if he is selling at $15 per item, how much is the selling price? Selling price 15x, because number of items. So by selling X number of items, he will earn 15x dollars. Now, how many items must the manufacturer produce and sell to earn an annual profit of 150,000? Now, he has to make a profit of 150,000, and guys, we know that profit is selling price minus cost price, right? The extra selling price gives us the profit. So we'll just make an equation and we'll solve that. So it is 150,000 equal to selling price is 15x, the cost price. While writing cost price, we need to put a bracket, guys. Okay, because this minus thing will disturb the whole. So we have to put a bracket inside. So 130,000 plus 8x. Okay, we'll have to solve this equation now. We'll solve that. Let's see. 150,000 equal to 15x. Now I will break the bracket. So minus 130,000 minus 8x. So this is 15x minus 8x will be 7x minus 130,000 equal to 100. Okay, then I will bring this 130 to the left side. We'll get 280,000 equal to 7x, right? And so x equal to 40,000. Hope it makes sense. Option E is the correct answer. The manufacturer will make 40,000 number of items, right? Let's move on to number 26. Number 26 says, in a poll of 66,000 physicians, only 20% responded. So let's calculate how many responded. So we calculate 20% of 66,000. We'll do the basic calculation. 10% of 66,000 is 6,600. So 20% would be 132, 13,200, right? Okay, so these were those guys who responded. Let me write that. Okay, and then out of those who responded, 10% disclosed their preference for pain reliever. So we have to find how many of the physicians who responded did not disclose the preference. So if 10% disclosed the preference, how much percent did not disclose the preference? 90%, the remaining 90%, right guys? So basically we have to calculate those who did not respond to pain reliever, okay, who did not disclosed their preference for pain reliever are 90% of those who responded, which is 90% of 13,200. So we'll calculate that very basic calculation. 90 times 13200, right? We get two zeros cancelled. 9 times 2 is 18. It is 11,880. Option E is the correct answer, right? Fine. Let's move on to next question, question number 27. It's 3 over 100. So guys, you should know how to convert a fraction to decimal. 3 over 100 is basically 0.03, and 5 over 1000 is basically 0.00 and then 5, and 7 over 100,000 is 0. This before 7 there would be 4 zeros, because in the denominator there are 5 zeros. So before 7 it would be 4 zeros and then 7, and because we have to add them up, so it is 70530.0. So option E is the correct answer. Fine. Let's move on to number 28. Question says, if the number n of calculators sold per week varies with the price P in dollars according to the question this, what would be the total weekly revenue from the sale of $10 calculators? Please understand, the question is trying to deceive you. It's not 10 calculators, it's $10 calculators. It means the price of the calculators are $10. Okay. So first we'll find with this equation how many calculators are there with the price $10. So we'll get n equal to 300 minus 20 times 10 would be 300 minus 200, which is 100. So there are 100 calculators whose price are $10 each. Now the question is asking total weekly revenue. So by selling those $10 calculators, 100 calculators each price $10, revenue would be 100 multiplied by 10, which is 1000. Right? So option C is the correct answer. Right, guys? Let's solve question number 29. Question is, which of the following fractions is equal to the decimal this number? So fine, we'll solve it. We'll see how to convert a decimal into a fraction. This is basically just write down the number 625 divided by, for the decimal you write 1, and to the right side of decimal whatever be the number of digits, so there are 4 digits, so you write 4 zeros. Okay guys, this is how we convert a decimal to a fraction. You just write down the number without decimal and all, write down the number, and in denominator for decimal you write 1, and to the right side of decimal count how many digits, those many number of zeros you will have to put after 1. Okay, and then we'll have to simplify. These two numbers are divisible by 5, so I will divide both of them by 5. So 5 times 2 is 10, 2000, right? Further it is still divisible by 5, so I will divide 25, and 5 will divide 20 as 4, so we'll get 2 zeros extra. Further it is still divisible by 5, so 5 over 80, and again 1 over 16. You should improve your calculation skills, right? Okay. Let's move on to number 30. Question number 30 says, in the figure above, x over x plus y equal to 3 over 8, we have to find the value of x. So guys, in this figure you can see x and y are complementary angles. Sorry, x and y are supplementary angles. And we know what is supplementary angles. They are actually, this is the linear pair, right? Right? Because they make a straight line. So x and y are supplementary angles, and supplementary angles or linear pair make the sum 80. So x plus y value is basically 180 in this case. These two angles will add up to 180. We'll just plug in the value. See, x over 180 equal to 3 over 8. So we'll have to solve for x. We'll get x equal to 180 in division will come to the other side in multiplication. So 3 times 180 divided by 8. 55. I'm just dividing 8 and 180 by 2. So 2, 4 and 2, 90. So 90 times 3 is 270. 270 divided by 4. You can divide it. Option B is the correct answer. Right guys? Let's solve question number 31. Question says, if positive integers x and y are not both odd, which of the following must be even? So in such cases, when they clearly says that they are not both odd, we'll take certain examples. So when they said x and y are not both odd, it means x and y both could be even, or one could be even and one could be odd, right? But both are not odd. So we'll take some examples. Let's say I'm taking x, both are even. So x2 and y4 I just took. As per the question, I'm doing that because they said x and y are not both odd. So I just took them as both even. So which of the following must be even? Option A is even, right? I will just check all the options. Option B is even. Option C will be even. 2 minus 4 would be negative 2. I will consider it as an even number, okay? Negative sign is not considered. X plus y, 6 minus 1 would be 5. So this would not be even, okay? So this option gets rejected. Option A is 2 times x plus y, which is 2 times 6, which is 12. 12 minus 1 is 11. 11 is also not even, right? So when x and y both are even, then it could be option A or B or C, right? Okay. Now we'll take second case when one is even and one is odd, because that is also a chance, right? We'll take that case. Okay. Now this time I will take x and y is even. So 3 times 4 will be 12, which is an even value. X plus y, 3 plus 4 will be an odd value, so not satisfying. 3 minus 4, 1 will be an odd value, negative 1, which I said as an odd value. So option A is the only value which is even when both x and y are even, or when one of them is even. Okay, so option A is the correct answer, right? So this was the session today for GMAT, guys. Hope to see you soon. Thank you.